You're tuned in to Shake, Rattle, and Goal, the official podcast of your Springfield Thunderbirds.
Osmanski, a one-timer deflected side of the goal. Alexandrov scores! Hosted by Matt Baker and Steve Forney. A show that's everything Springfield hockey, with interviews including players, coaches, and staff.
The Springfield Indians repeat as the Calder Cup champions.
Listen to this podcast on all major streaming platforms and wherever you download podcasts.
In his first year at the helm, Kevin McDonald and Drew Bannister have the Teamers in the Calder Cup Finals.
Watch the podcast on the official Shake, Rattle, and Goal YouTube page at SRG Podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Matt Baker and Steve Forney. In this episode number 28 of the Shake, Rattle, and Goal podcast is proudly brought to you by our friends at White Lion Brewing. New location in Amherst and in Tower Square in downtown Springfield, your go-to place for a pregame spot for Thunderbirds games. And now also by our friends at YOLO Healthcare Consulting, bridging the gap for those traversing the healthcare landscape. And by our friends at Landscaping That Fits. Spring is in the air, and that means it's time to revitalize your outdoor space with Landscaping That Fits, proudly serving the East Longmeadow, Agawam, Springfield, and Wilbraham areas. Alongside Matt Baker, I am Steve Forney. Matt, how are you? What's new? Back at it?
Back at it. I'm well. Kind of, this time of year we kind of feel the crunch of like, come on, good weather. Come on, good weather. So I have a mix of that and come on, wins. Let's go, wins.
I know.
Put them together.
I know.
How are you guys doing? You guys
we're
staying
good.
Healthy?
Yeah, we're good. Everybody's rocking and rolling. It feels like there's like 5 games left in the season and it's crunch time. And, you look at it and there's actually like 13.
Yep.
But it feels like it's 5, and it feels like every game is so important. And so we'll get into that a little bit. We'll get into the games that happened over the weekend. I think the biggest game of the year coming up on Wednesday against Lehigh Valley, who has now jumped you in the standings. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. We're also going to be joined by Gene Canosa, who is a longtime Thunderbird season ticket holder. If you don't know the name, you'll certainly know the face. She seems to always find her way on the Jumbotron, and she's an absolute sweetheart. So we're going to talk to her in our fan feature as well. Also want to mention that next week's show is going to be kind of a fun one. We are actually going to be doing a joint podcast with the Blues Fan Forum podcast. So we're going to be talking to guys directly in St. Louis, talking about, everything that they got going on, their perspective of what they're seeing from Bolduc and Kessel and Walker and Zach Dean, who hasn't gotten into a game yet, but what he's doing up there. And I'm sure they'll have some questions for us as well, what's going on, what we have cooking down here. But it'll be nice to kind of bridge that relationship and really get some insight on what's happening there in St. Louis. And again, we don't get to watch many of their games out here, so to get a firsthand perspective would be good.
Yeah, I'm really excited, looking forward to that, and we'll talk about this towards the end of the show today. But it can't just be us rattling off our questions or concerns, So where to find us on social media. Shoot us a message. I'll be putting out some posts within the next few days about that Blues collab podcast. So we want to hear your questions too, your thoughts about what the Blues are doing and what that means for us here in Springfield.
So it's gonna be great. I'm excited. I think we can all coordinate it, and we're gonna be using their podcasting software, so we'll see how that goes. I like my trusty StreamYard, but we'll see what they got going on. So I am looking forward to that. We do have I guess we could start with a little bit of news involving the team. Hugh McGing back in the lineup, and also a Sam Bitten contract extension. I guess we'll start with Sam. Your initial thoughts on having Sam Bitten locked up for the next 2 seasons?
I think it's great. I mean, look, at the beginning of the year, I think we wanted to see more Sam Bitten. We wanted to see what this kid could do on the ice. In his limited, more as of late time on the ice, he hasn't disappointed. I thought he's played well. I haven't felt like he's been a liability. He brings the energy. He brings the noise. We know he can, bring the boom too. I'm curious to see. I hope that means Will Bitten would like to stay here as well too. But he's still, as he said, and when we talked to him at the beginning of the year, he's still hungry to get up to the show. So I would hope he would go where he feels that best opportunity is. I hope it's here in Springfield. I hope it's with the Blues, the team that gave Will his first shot. But I'm hopeful that means Will wants to stay here too. And I'm glad to see that, these contracts, it's not just always a one-way street. It's a two-way. The team has to want you and you have to want to be here. So the fact that Sam chose to sign that 2-year extension means he wants to be here too. So hopefully he likes the direction of the franchise. He's happy here. He's welcomed here. The fans love him. So I'm happy for it. I think it's good.
Yeah, I agree with everything. And yeah, my biggest takeaway was that means you're getting 2 for 1. That means you're probably going to get Will sticking around too. Yeah. And that, fans of this league understand how often player movement happens, whether it's shifting teams or going to play overseas or you get called up. And like you said, we want Will to be up in the show, but I got a feeling that he'll be here starting the season next year. Yeah. And you're getting a 2 for 1. So that to me is huge. And then you add in Pekka, having those guys as cornerstones, at least for another couple of years, is big. And like you mentioned, it's nice that the Blues want him. I mean, we look at other guys that aren't dressed as much, like Austin Osmanski, and boom, he's traded, and they got nothing for him. So they clearly weren't interested in. I mean, again, they say, well, we wanted to give him a chance to play elsewhere. That's fine, but it's easy to say. But they also been looked at and was like, we have too many guys. They got rid of him for a reason. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when you have a guy that plays as little as Sam, but yet they still want to ink him to a deal and keep him around, I think that says a lot about his character. I think his character in the locker room. I imagine he is a really good competitor in practice, and that makes the guys around him better. And he's 23. And so when you look at the things that he brings you on the ice, and then you add in the stuff he brings off the ice in the locker room, I think that is a good sign for the player. And that means that the relationship between him and his brother and the team is healthy. And selfishly, that means that we're going to get 2 more years of him on our podcast, which is great because he just wants to get back on, and he's a blast to have on. So looking forward to that too.
That's great for us. I mean, and everything you said is true, and I think I've never played hockey overseas or in the AHL, but I'm sure there's a bit of an adjustment period too to the style of play. Having to make a name for yourself, sort of earning that ice time, and it would have been easy with injuries and call-ups. And, if the team didn't like what they had, they, like you said, there wouldn't be a lot more playing time these last few weeks. There would have been more, hey, let's call up this kid from the ECHL and see what he's got on our fourth line. They play him for a reason. And I'm happy for him. We just want these guys to play as much hockey as they can and sort of, hit the peak of their career. And so for Sam, that's great. I'm happy to have him here in Springfield.
But even like there's been a little of that, and he could be going to the doors of the head coaches and the coaches and saying, why are you playing Mitchell Hulscher? Why are you playing, Tanner Dickinson? Like, I'm here. Like, why are you bringing these kids up and playing them instead of me? And I imagine if he was knocking down the coach's door to ask those questions, they wouldn't be re-signing him to a deal.
Yeah.
Right. So clearly he is a team guy. And, I think that's it just says a lot. You talk about role models, and not just guys going on the ice and beating the heck out of people, but, you're the parents of athletes, when they're kids, and you look at a guy like Sam Bitten, who's first on the ice at practice, last off it, is great in the community, always signs autographs, is happy to shake the hands of every fan that he meets. And then, is good behind the scenes. I just, it's great. So both of them, and, Will too. We said it before, hats off to those Bitten parents, because they've raised a couple of really excellent young men. So, so happy to have 100%. Them. And real quick, as we mentioned it, Austin Osmanski for future considerations, Malcolm Subban for future considerations. Meanwhile, Charlotte just traded Jamison Reese for a 6th round pick. And it's like Like we saw, I love Jamison Reese, super nice guy. He was awesome on our podcast. I wish him nothing but the best. But a 6th round pick for Jamison Reese, and we get nothing for Malcolm Subban. Like, I don't know. I'm looking at St. Louis going, you take our players up to St. Louis, or you ship them out, but you're not refilling us with anything. And when we look at the team's record, you know, trying to scrap together lineups on a nightly basis has just got to be exhausting for this coaching staff. You got defensemen playing forward. Shipping away pieces for nothing is frustrating. I find it frustrating.
I agree with you, and like I wonder if like future considerations just tells me like, oh, if you're in a playoff run next year, you know, maybe I'll give you somebody, maybe I won't. Like, what does that mean? Right. And how can you cannot tell me, and this is no knock to any player, but I don't think many people will disagree with this. Malcolm Subban and Austin Osmanski, there's more, like you should be getting more back in return for a Malcolm Subban, a positional value, player value, and essentially they were just given away for nothing with the same value to me. So that really does not make sense at all to me. I don't know. I don't know what future consideration means.
And I think it's a bad look for Subban. And I think it's just like, if I got traded for basically a bag of pucks, I'd be like, that's what you think I am?
Yeah.
You know, like I'm better than that. Like the other team should be giving something up to get me because and he's a good player. Like for him to just be shipped off for nothing to me is unfortunate. And, you know, the other thing, and something I'll probably bring up to the Blues guys, you know, I'm watching Providence load up on, now college hockey's winding down. They're loading up on college players that are eligible to sign. So like they just signed the goalie out of Notre Dame. They just signed a defenseman, I think, also from Notre Dame. You know, Calgary just signed some college kid who had 25 goals in college. Like, why aren't we? I know we have the Snuggerudes and those guys, but you're telling me you can't find a college free agent who played at, I don't pick Colgate, Brown, Northeastern, pick a school. Yeah, there's no graduating seniors that aren't, you know, that aren't already drafted by another team that you can't bring in for whatever $400,000 for a 2-year deal. Like, give me something. There's just there's other teams that are making moves and making signings, and you know, I don't want to put it all on St. Louis, but in Springfield too. They're all just kind of
sat around and
playing out the string here for the last 15 games of the season.
Yeah.
You know?
It's frustrating to watch. It's frustrating. And look, admittedly, like part of the frustration too is I'm not a GM. I don't know. Like a part of being the fan, right, is trusting in the organization to make the best moves possible. And you hope, like, and I'm sure in their meetings they are, but it doesn't translate as a fan looking back, you know, on the way outside looking in. You're just like, wait, why are we just sitting here? Like, you know, especially we're last week or at the trade deadline, we are in 6th place, falling, and it's like nobody is doing anything. Yeah, so it's been a little frustrating the last few weeks, but you know, they're still in playoff contention, which is, I guess, I'm looking on the bright side. It could be worse. You could be Bridgeport, but
hey, Bridgeport's not too far behind us.
Well,
they keep winning games, and they're
right
there.
They're 0-4 in their last 4. They had
they are
week.
Okay.
They're 0-4 in their last weekend.
Not against us,
you know, but not against us. Points wise, you know, I think they're out of it. I mean, the good thing is, again, thinking glass half full. Here we are with 59 points and Lehigh Valley with 60. And we'll break down the games from Charlotte in a little bit, and we'll get into these future games with Lehigh Valley. But if you take care of your business against Lehigh Valley, that puts you back into the playoff. And I've always felt let's get there. That's battle number 1, you know?
Right.
So,
and just one last thing on this is, you know, you'd think that St. Louis would have learned the value of long Calder Cup playoff runs.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at their roster and you're looking at Joel Hofer, Tyler Tucker, Alexandrov, Toropchenko, like those guys were all part of that team, and you know, the not just playing the extra games and the experience, but the culture, like the winning culture.
Mm-hmm.
You know, having players in a winning culture to me is what makes them winners at the NHL level. And so when you're just like, well, you know, we don't need to make any changes because it's our minor league team, and if they make the playoffs, great, and if they don't, whatever.
Yeah,
that's, and again, I don't know if that's how they're thinking. That's the impression I'm getting.
Yeah, I
can't. You know what I mean?
I can't argue with that too much, you know. And
So,
it'll be interesting to talk to the guys next week. But you also don't forget guys like Charlie Lindgren and you know, guys that aren't still part of the organization, but the Blues were able to get assets from.
Yep.
And so, you know, all that. Yeah, I don't know.
All right, so we are going to break down the games in Charlotte coming up. We are, like we said, going to look forward to the big game on Wednesday against Lehigh Valley, which I think is probably the biggest game of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But we do want to get to our fan feature segment as well. And our fan feature segment, as always, is brought to you by our friends at Patty's Irish Pub, located at 1060 Wilbraham Road in Springfield in the Breckwood Shopping Center, with over 20 local and craft beers on tap and 10 TVs, including NFL, Major League Baseball, NHL TV packages. It's one of the few bars here in Western Mass where you could watch our former Thunderbirds play in St. Louis. And so we are happy to have them, and make sure that if you do go there, the Breckwood Shopping Center, make sure you tell the friends behind the bar that the boys at SRG sent you. Big thank you to our friends at Patty's Irish Pub. And with that, we bring in our guest of the day here, Gene Canosa Albano. Gene, it's so nice to have you on and have you here with us.
Awesome. Great to be here, Steve and Matt. Love it.
Thanks for hopping on with us.
Of course.
So, Gene, why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself, whatever you're comfortable with, and then we'll get this interview rolling.
Sure. So I live here in Springfield, and I love all things Springfield. And so I often would try to fool the people in my section, say, see how I am at the game? What do you think my day job is? And no one ever guessed librarian, because I'm very loud and animated and up and down and so forth. But yeah, I'm a librarian. I'm the assistant director at Springfield City Library.
That's cool.
And we live here in 16 acres. I have a son and his girlfriend who live in the orchards, who are very Springfield centric.
That's great. I noticed that the team's been doing a lot of events with the Springfield Library, and I'm wondering how much of that is your coordination. You know, can you talk about that relationship between the Springfield Library and the team and what you guys have going on?
Absolutely. So started because I follow all the accounts on social media, can't help myself. And one day last season, there was a post, I forgot what it was, the team had put up on Twitter about Anthony Angelo. And someone replied saying that, oh yeah, what a great guy. When he was in Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, he used to read to the kids. And so I'm like, what? And I had to say more, you know, tell me more about this. And this is how I discovered the book club that he had started, and reached out to Ryan Smith and asked him, is this something we can get going here in Springfield? And so Ryan has been my main contact for this. Anthony jumped on board right away, and between Ryan and Anthony, they recruited other players to come out, and we had 6 visits last season and 5 this year, with Drew Callan taking the lead there, and you know, bringing in his teammates, and however that all gets arranged behind the scenes. But the T-Birds Foundation has been very supportive of it, and providing gifts to each of the library branches that have hosted a visit. So that could be anything from some extra diapers that parents could always use when they're visiting the library, or all kinds of after-school snacks that a lot of times kids will come straight from school and they're hungry. And so this means we have a bunch of snacks that we can share with them, or craft supplies, because that's another thing that kids love to do after school. So it's been so much fun. and families after last year were asking for it to come back this year. And so super happy that we can have this partnership, because I feel like what the library is about, the T-Birds are about, welcoming everybody and, all in, and making for fun family experiences. So it's a great partnership, and we'll look forward to doing it again next year, maybe even more visits if we can.
That's great. Do you have any more book clubs going on this season, or have you completed them all?
Mm-hmm. They've all been completed for this season. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
That's cool. No, that's great. Good for you. We're talking with Gene Canosa Albano, our fan feature segment, Matt.
Gene, how long have you been a T-Bird fan? Did it start with the Thunderbirds, or does it go back to the Falcon days? How long have you been a fan?
Yeah. Well, if I were like tracing my lineage, my grandmother was a huge fan of the Indians, going back to when they played over in the Coliseum. It maybe skipped a generation, although my dad was a huge Boston sports fan. Then I went to a couple of Falcons games, but I don't know, it didn't click for me until, again, I was following on social media just because I like all things Springfield. And finally I said, I don't know, I got to check this out. I missed out on getting tickets for when David Ortiz was here. But after that, I said, I got to get in the groove for the following season. So it was that 18-19 season that I bought a few tickets for. And then I went there, remember picking up my tickets. And I was like, I got to go sit in our seats for the first time. I was like, oh, this is really good. Yeah, I think I'll be back for more. And we just kept adding on to our package with our ticket rep. And so just converted to full season, and, haven't looked back yet.
What was it? I mean, you say that it looked good. I mean, what was it about the Falcons that you were like, meh? And the Thunderbirds, you're like, this is great. Was it the people and the sales staff, or was it?
Honestly, I'm not really sure. I just think I wasn't in that mode yet.
Gotcha.
Honestly, I have no fault to it, but nothing. It just wasn't the same feel, I guess.
Gene, I have a question for you, and you can disclose as much or as little information on this as you'd like to.
Okay.
But I'm always amazed when we do the jersey auctions. Just the process and who bids when and who knows their limits, and I think you got one of the last raffles. I think you got one of the Hockey Fights Cancer ones. Is that right?
Yes, and also
the Pink and the Rink ones. Yeah. Oh, nice, nice.
So,
the military
one. Callan,
nice.
Of course, my book club fellow.
Do you pick your spots when you're bidding, or do you have the budget, or how does that work for you?
I pick my spots. I don't tend to have time to go on vacation a lot, so this is like my vacation. But it's mostly about the player. Like, I'm not like, I've got to get something that's going to be a great investment, or I want somebody who used to play in the NHL. It's just who I like, and I didn't bid on anything in Pink in the Ring because I was like, well, I need to cut myself off at this point. So yeah, I do know my limits, but if there's one that I want, I will probably go for it.
Well, I mean, that's one of the things Nate and I were talking about is like we don't like having jerseys on back-to-back weekends because most people get paid every 2 weeks. It's like these people haven't even gotten a paycheck since the last jersey auction. Like, let's give them some time to figure out their finances first.
Oh, see, that's some good behind-the-scenes stuff there. Yeah,
we want to take your money. We just want to make sure you have it first. No,
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, but I have a good number of them. But I will tell you, the first ones that I got were in the first year. And that was when, Sweater Off Our Back was, table, and you just bought some raffle tickets and threw them in there. And I think I spent $40 on them, and I put them in the two players that I liked the most. And Jonathan Stone at the time was my ticket rep, and he was calling me saying, "You won two of them."
Nice.
So, wow.
I mean, Jake Horton and Jacob McDonald. So, I tend to like a player who plays right wing defense because of where I sit in section 26. I get to see them a lot, So it was after McDonald and the COVID year. It was Santini, of course. Loved him.
like that guy.
And now, of course, Coughlin. So yeah.
Do you try to get a sweater? Obviously, not all in one year, but do you have sweaters representing the different specialty games over the years?
Yeah, I do.
That's awesome.
I've got military appreciation and Hockey Fights Cancer, and gosh, I can't even think of what else right now. Oh, a couple of isotopes.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Good for you. Do you have? I know you mentioned Coughlin. Is there a player? First of all, I wanted to ask you about Leo Loof because I think he's on that side too, and I love Leo Loof.
Yeah.
Is there a player over the years that's just like your all-time favorite? I mean, I know you mentioned Santini and McDonald. Do you have one that's just like the go-to guy that sticks out?
Well, the most like personal relationship. I'm not, thinking like we're best friends or anything like that, but Anthony, Angelo, and I had all that time that we spent together, and just what a great human being. Those are the kinds of players that I tend to have I like to follow. I'll follow them if they go somewhere else and so forth. So that's who I like. Of course, who doesn't like Adam Gaudette this year? He's just been amazing on the ice and was very fun when he came out and did the reading. His wife and his son came along, and
cute.
That was so special to see them together. There's no one that I really don't like. Now, I haven't been able to get a read on the personality of Leo Loof. I'm not sure about it.
He's kind of quiet and just centered. He's like very just not too high, not too low. He's just kind of there.
Except for that one time that he got in that fight and he was just like so pumped about it. Yes, exactly. I was like, wait. Is that Peyton or is that?
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Yeah, it was. It was really good. Yeah.
Gene, so you probably more than most can appreciate what the Thunderbirds do for the community. Steve and I, we talked about this last week. Sometimes when you get into the NHL or other professional levels, there's not that sense of, I don't want to say they don't care about their community, but talk a little bit more. Have you been part of other community outings that the Thunderbirds have done? Any other outreach? Clearly they do a lot with the libraries, but is there anything else that you've done community-wise with the Thunderbirds you just like to talk about?
I don't know about with them. I mean, we did a lot of people helped organize a picnic over in Chicopee that raised funds for Anthony Greco's dad before he passed away, after there had been a fire at their home. And of course, the way that the Thunderbirds participate in that and that Boomer participated in that was, really said something, about the class organization that they are. But, you can't turn around without running into Boomer or Nate Costa or, other representatives. And I know a lot of things happen behind the scenes that we don't really hear about, but, Nate Costa was pouring beers for junior achievement last week at a fundraiser. And I think we marched the library's contingent in the Pride Parade last year, marched right behind or right ahead of the Thunderbirds contingent. We'll be at the pancake breakfast together, I'm sure. It just makes you feel good about supporting the team because when you see how they turn around and support the community. I said before, I'm all about Springfield, and one thing I love about it is it's a city, so that means it has a lot of great things, but also it's a small enough city that you can, it's more manageable, so to speak. And maybe if this team was still in San Antonio or wherever it was they were before, that's a huge city, and it might not be as easy to participate in so many things. But summer reading club kickoff at the library, we'll be there with Boomer.
I always mention that it not only are we a smaller city, but we're on the whole other side of Boston, and they don't think we exist. And I find Springfield and Western Mass in general to be very self-reliant. Yes. And I think that we rally around ourselves and our own community. And again, whether it's Chicopee, Holyoke, Springfield, Westfield, we're always kind of like we're just self-reliant, I guess, and then we operate our own way.
Yeah, we lean on each other and support each other, I think. So,
yeah. Gene, do you have a favorite a memory, whether it's this season or years past, something that you were just so pumped to either witness or be a part of?
Well, of course, the Calder Cup run, that was just so amazing. I remember thinking in my head for a long time, maybe this is the year, but I didn't want to say it out loud. And then one game, right? One game I just leaned to my friends who sit in front of us, like, this is a team of destiny. So that's huge, but it's the small interactions too. Not only book club, but other things that are happening with the team. And I love every single game, and I don't miss a game. I missed one game when I was sick, I think, since we started. And it's just so much fun for me. My job asks a lot of me, and I love it. But this is the time people say laptop slam shut, and then it's just all about me, my cowbell, my really, really loud cowbell, and then all of the fun things to do once you're in the Thunderdome, all of the amazing friends that I have made there. And then just recently, there's some people sit in front of us that presented me with this new cowbell that they made for me. So
that's
in our
awesome.
Section 26 captain. So I have rituals. I have certain things that I yell at certain times. So many little friends that I've made, like kids who've kind of glommed onto me, the people behind me, the people in front of me. And then when we score, I got to go around, give high fives to everybody, run up the stairs and do like a line of high fives.
Oh, that's awesome.
The people in the front row of the upper bowl. It just started. It just happened. I can't help myself. I'm just into so many things like this that just makes it so much fun. And I just have a blast with it. So yeah, it's everything. Awesome. It's everything.
It's great.
That's so cool. Hearing you talk, Gene, and meeting you face to face the last, that last home game, and hearing that story, it kind of like, for me, like you're young, you're in college, you go out to bars, you drink, and like, I'm not into that scene anymore. But when I'm at the Thunderdome and the team scores and it's me, my kids, my wife, and we're jumping up, high-fiving people around you, it kind of brings you back to that energy level.
Yes.
And bless you for keeping it going. That's just awesome. We might have to get more. We like to sit around all over the place with our tickets, and I might have to find some more tickets in 26.
I'm just saying we have so much fun. We really do.
You have to run it by the captain first. All right, so last question for me. I know we do have some members of the front office that listen, and I know you've said some pretty nice things already. But do you have any messages or words to whether it's your sales reps or Nate or Ryan or
Yeah. I mean, it's been just everybody's been tremendous to work with. Once Jonathan left the team, working with the team, we've been working with Andrew Buchanan since then, and I just text him and he's like, yep, I'm getting those tickets for you. And so one of the other rituals that I have is, bringing people in to see the game and bringing friends along. And I love it. We go downtown, we have dinner out somewhere, and then we enjoy the game. And the last couple of people that I brought in, high school friend and her wife, they are live in Providence now. So I've gone down to watch a couple of Providence games with them. And okay, it's all right down there. But when they came and they sat like lower bowl 26, they were like, oh, wait a minute, we're coming back here. So I love it because it all ties together. They'll be back and they'll be eating out again in downtown Springfield and, buying some more gear at the store and so forth. But yeah, 201, everybody's so good. Steve at the store behind 27, he sees me coming, he's passing me a roster because he knows I always like to come and get the roster. I mean, like I said, Andrew's amazing. 201, everybody's so awesome. Good. And We love it. And yeah, pretty good PA announcer,
You know, I'm all right.
Oh,
As long as they'll have me, I'll keep working.
Exactly. As long as you continue the monotone when the other team scores, you're number one in my book. So
There you
That's
go.
the fan favorite.
My rituals.
That's the fan favorite. I
Yes, it
appreciate
is.
that. Thank you.
Of course. Yeah.
Well,
Gene, that's all I got. Thank you so much
right.
for hopping
Absolutely.
on with us. And I
Absolutely.
apologize for the behind the scenes confusion. That was on
No worries.
me. I was trying to do too many things today. So we appreciate you hopping on.
I know what you mean. All right. No worries. Worked out perfectly.
See you, Cap. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, there goes Jean Canosa Albano. An absolute pleasure. I don't know how you can't listen to her.
What a
smile.
pleasure! I'm smiling the whole time, chatting with her, and I'm not kidding. Like, she brings the energy, and again, like, it just brings me back to like that college scene. You're granted maybe through a few drinks back, but all that energy, all that hype, and she brings it. I love it. What a wonderful person.
And that segment, our fan feature segment, brought to you by our friends at Patty's Irish Pub, 1060 Wilbraham Road in Springfield, the Breckwood Shopping Center. Tons of TVs, tons of beers on tap, and open 365 days a year. So make sure you go to Patty's Irish Pub in Springfield. Tell them that the guys at SRG sent you. So we do have, I guess now we can sort of look back and forward, looking back at the Charlotte game, and I think that the loss on Saturday night stung a lot less after the win on Sunday. I don't know if that's how you felt, but I was so disappointed in that game Saturday night. And then Sunday happened. And I'm like, well, you killed a 2-goal lead. You came back, you blew them out. At least you get 2 points.
Yeah. I mean, look, yes, you are much more, for me, this is what they do. I can't remember the last time they've won 2 games in a row, or even lost 2 games in a row for that matter. They've been playing 500 hockey for a while. For me, though, this season is for me. It's felt like lately, it's what could have been. We talked about this. Where there are points for the taking, you just got to grab them, right? And that was sort of the frustrating part about Bridgeport. We know they have our number, but like, the points are there. You just got to grab them. And when you're fighting for and clawing for every little point, there were some good things to take away from that Saturday loss, but you have a 2-goal lead. You're playing okay. You're playing well. And again, it's points that you could have had, points that were right there. 3-1 lead in the second. You have to close the door on them. And so for me, it was just very, very frustrating because they're there, 2 points. Even fine if it goes into over. I mean, because it's not like the other team is laying down either. We know we're getting their best shot because Charlotte has to win too. So it was just frustrating, but you are right. The Sting ending the weekend on a high note with a win, comeback, multiple comebacks in the game. It does. You can go to bed a little bit, feeling a little better Sunday night going into the week. I think you saw it was nice on Saturday seeing Coughlin kind of heat up a little bit. I think he's now 2 off the lead for defensemen with goals. Gaudette continues just to dominate and score. There are some players I would like to see raise their game maybe a little bit, because I know that there's more talent there. But I think this was a typical Springfield Thunderbirds weekend. You blow a 2-goal lead and then you come back the following day against the same team and you come back from a 2-goal deficit. Yeah. Welcome to the Springfield Thunderbirds 23-24 edition.
Yeah, no, totally. And I mean, for me, I don't want to sound here like a broken record, but 2 games, and my math is terrible, but I believe that's 82 shots on goal against in 2 games. And the frustrating thing for me is when you look at the call-ups and the injuries, it's, Humaging forward, Pekka forward, Walker forward, Bolduc, Dean forwards. The D core has been pretty much the same all season. I mean, Kessel's been up and down, but it's been Kalanick and Coughlin and Rosen and Loof and Duzak's in and out and Skinner and if they had all of these injuries and call-ups on the back end, I would look at 82 shots in 2 games and I would say, well, I mean, they're dealing with some stuff and they have ECHL guys up and down and it's been the same guys all season.
Yeah.
And this problem has been going on for a really long time here. So to me, when you're able to score 6 goals against a goalie that sort of owned them this year, and that the kid they played Sunday was just traded from Pittsburgh. He was 2-0 against him when he was with Lehigh Wilkes-Barre.
Yeah.
Here he is in Charlotte and you put up 6 on him.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so despite the call-ups and the injuries and all that stuff and the ECHL guys on your forward position, you still score 6 goals. Why on the back end can we still not clear the front of the net? How come we still can't give up less than, 35 shots on goal? It's just, that's where I get frustrated.
I'm with you. I mean, look, we said this too before. They either can't identify the problem or are incapable of fixing it because it has, you can't look at, I feel like it's been probably since, mid-December, we've been talking about this, just you're being outshot. For me, I think they play too relaxed through the neutral zone. I think, it's the back checking isn't there. They don't seem to have a true defensive team philosophy. I was thinking about this weekend. If you look up and down the roster, I don't think it's a lack of talent at all. I really don't. You look at who these players are, and even if you just looked at it, all right, hey, would you be willing to give up this guy? No, I think all these players can play. But then when you watch them as a whole, which is what hockey is, I mean, you have to work in sync with each other and you have to have chemistry. You have to communicate. You have to have a read of what, especially defensively, right, what your line mates are doing before they're doing it. And they just seem to miss that. I really don't think it's a lack of talent. I just don't think they have a sense of what the other, what their line mates are trying to do, and then they can compensate for any weakness or anything there. They just don't seem to have that sort of defensive philosophy. I think you mentioned this last week or a few episodes ago, where it's almost like they're just playing street hockey out there at times. And it's kind of what it feels like. Even when they win, this is now 2 weekends in a row where we can say it's not quantity, it's quality. They get outshot, but yet they score 6 goals on 20-something shots.
Right.
I'll take it. But at the same time, think about these goaltenders who are playing great between the pipes, but you're giving up 4 goals and, whatever it is, facing a million shots, 40-something shots. It's just that's tough. And you like to see this sort of, I'd rather go back to those Hershey 1-0 game, 18-19 shots on goal, where you're seeing where's that?
Right.
I'll take that. And if we're looking at an 18-19 shot on goal sort of differential, again, the talent on the team is there. I'll take the talent against Charlotte, the talent against Lehigh Valley. Right now, the talent against Hartford. So I don't know. That's kind of was my takeaway on this weekend.
Totally. And if you're sitting there saying, Steve, why do you always talk about the shots? Just get over it.
It matters though.
When you look at the goals against in the division, Springfield's given up 190 goals. That's most in the division. Mm-hmm. And it's 3rd most in the conference. Only Laval and Rochester have given up more goals than you have. And what frustrates me is if we take those top 2 teams out of the division, because Hershey and Providence are just absolutely steamrolling teams right now. Wilkes-Barre's in third. They are +3 in goal differential. They've scored 169. They've given up 164. Charlotte and Hartford are both even. Charlotte's 181 for, 181 against. Hartford's 169 for, 169 against. Lehigh Valley is somehow -19, but yet here they are with a better record than you. And then Springfield's at -3, but they've given up the most goals in the division. So, like, if we imagine if all these games were your 40 plus shots, if you gave up 30, we'll call it 35 or less, how many goals per game does that shave off? And would you be in fifth instead of seventh, or would you be in sixth or fourth? Like, where would you be in the division if you could just get the puck out of your own zone, away from your goaltender, keep the chaos out of the crease? Where would they be? You know, and that's, I think, to me, that's what's going to be the most telling thing here down the stretch, and what could separate them from going on a streak here, getting into the playoffs or not. And it is interesting. The nice thing is I think we're at 13 games left to play, and we've been talking about, all it takes is that one team to rattle off 6 straight wins, 7 straight wins, 9 straight wins. It's happened, and it happens to pretty much every team this year except us. And I think that's why the record's at 500. There's time left this season to rattle off a 5, 6, 7, 8 game winning streak. And what better time to do it than heading right into the playoffs?
Or even if it was just a point streak. Like, I'll take points at this point, right? But you're right. And real quick, like, you bring up an interesting point, and I think this is telling when you look at these two stats together. They've given up the most goals in the division, and you look at their goaltending save percentages. And in my opinion, like, if you look at right now, Colton Ellis, his save percentage is a 929, almost a 93. You look at Zarenko, 912, and Subban, when he left, his save percentage was 907. So, like, if you told me a team had given up the most goals in the division, third most in the conference, I'm expecting to see save percentages in like the 8.9s, 8.8s sort of thing. That's not the case. They're facing so many shots. I mean, they have to be let in. They're just being peppered. And this is why I think they matter, and why I said it in an earlier episode, like, there's so much context to goaltending. It's not just, he lets in 3 goals every game. Well, if he's facing 50 shots and just being peppered, and then the other goalie is sitting there facing 23 and you lose 3-2, and if we had better goaltending, like, it's not that simple. So I think when you look at those two stats combined, I think, and I'm not blaming one individual, I think it's a lack of defensive philosophy that you either haven't identified that as a problem yet, or maybe you don't have the personnel, you don't have the bodies to fix what needs to be done. But it's a problem that seems unfixable at the moment, because it just happens every single game, win or loss.
Yeah. And if there's a positive, which, let's think a little positively here, the Thunderbirds have been destroying other goalies' save percentages, because even on Sunday, they were outshot almost 2-1, and they get 6 goals on 26 shots or something like that. So it's that's got to frustrate the heck out of you when you spend all your time peppering the Springfield goalie, and then bang, they go the other way, and here comes Adam Gaudette with just a rip, top corner. That's gotta frustrate the heck out of you. So offensively, like I sort of said earlier, Pekka going down and McGinn going down and Walker goes up and McEachern goes down, and yet this team offensively, to me, just keeps kind of plugging along. And that's the positive, and I think that's what's going to have to carry them into the playoff race and into the playoffs if they get there. They clean up the neutral zone, clean up the front of the net, let your goalies breathe for a second. Yeah. And, I think it's still possible. I think it's doable. It's just, it's going to take some discipline. And like you said, maybe just a little bit of a twist in philosophy to get them where they need to be.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's definitely, and again, I saw somebody post this too, like, where else would you rather be than fighting for a playoff spot late in the season? It's, they've put themselves not in the most ideal situation, but they're still in it. They're not out of it. So 3 big games this week. Wednesday, tonight, this episode when it drops, the Thunderbirds are playing Lehigh Valley away. So look, that's the team that is 1 point ahead of you right now. And I don't, if this game does not get the juices flowing, if this game does not get them up and ready, that's a problem. That this could be telling. It doesn't, I'm not saying it has to be a win. I mean, it kind of does, but more importantly, there has to be energy. There has to be a sense of urgency because it is now. It is now, right? And then look, the way I'm looking at it, again, as I alluded to earlier, this team hasn't put together wins and losses. So they're away on Wednesday. Let's hope that's a win. I believe they're playing an imaginary game on Thursday. I think they're going to lose that one just to keep this pattern going. So they're going to lose on Thursday. Just to hear me out, people. And then they play the Checkers on Friday, which win, loss Thursday. They'll win again on Friday. That's my thought. Checkers come to Springfield. So let's hope that the Thunderdome is packed, loud, cheering on the boys. Because again, that's going to be another big game. And then Syracuse comes to town, a team that we were able to beat in Syracuse. But if I'm not mistaken, that was that monster performance by Subban, making 53 saves.
Yeah.
And you needed all 53 of those saves to get the victory. So, roster wise, Syracuse seems to be sort of, same type of team as Springfield a little bit. We know we can win in their place. They're going to be hungry. So again, hoping that the Thunderbirds can feed off the Thunderdome energy there and get two wins over the weekend.
Napoleon Dynamite night too. So
yes.
That'll be cool.
What a great promo he sent out too on social media.
That was
wonderful. And I do believe Thunderbirds have large talents. I think that is confirmed.
They sure do. Although there won't be any killing going on in the Thunderdome, but and just one other thing from Charlotte, I'm always fascinated by their travel schedule. They're kicking off the road trip in Springfield, but then they got to go to Providence, and the weather, believe it or not, I believe I'm hearing that the weather Friday into Saturday is snow and rain and 30 degrees. So, when are they going to travel across the state on the Pike, which is just the worst? What's the weather going to be like? Are they looking past Springfield to get to Providence, which is a huge game? So that's a team that you want to get on early and sort of blow out. And then, Syracuse is basically the Providence of their division. I mean, they're in second place and they're rolling and scoring a lot of goals, and it's going to take a lot of effort. So we'll see. I mean, this could be very telling for our next episode. I know, if you missed it, we are going to have a little collaboration with a blues podcast next week, which is going to be a lot of fun. We could either be pumped or we could be super depressed by next week. I think this weekend is the biggest stretch of 3 games. I feel like we've said it 3 weeks in a row, but I think this is probably the biggest stretch for this team, and we'll kind of see how it all plays out.
Yeah, well, look, they've got 13 games left, and you have to win. You need points in 10 of them, I will say. So
that's fair.
You got 13 games, you need points in 10. So let's get the points. I do real quick want to, fan of the show, she's been on before, Trina King, just give a shout out to her. She wants everyone to know her T-Bird sled hockey team is playing in a tournament in Westfield, Amelia Park, April 5th to April 7th. Her games are at 10 a.m. and then at 5 p.m. on Friday night. And then they play, I think, depending on what happens Friday night. So if you're looking for some T-Bird hockey, you can check out the T-Bird sled hockey team and cheer on Trina King. I know she'd appreciate it, and we're rooting for them as well.
Awesome. Good for her. She's awesome. And of course, before we go, we do want to mention that the SRG podcast is proudly brought to you by our friends at White Lion Brewing, their new location in Amherst on North Pleasant Street, and of course, right in downtown Springfield at Tower Square, 1500 Main Street, the place to go prior to Springfield Thunderbirds games. Parking in downtown Springfield is a bit tricky, so make sure you park in the Tower Square garage and then swing into White Lion, show them your Thunderbirds ticket, and they'll validate your parking for you. While you're there, grab some Boomer Nachos, Seuss Mac and Cheese, some Hall of Fame wings, along with any of the 20-plus beers they have. And don't forget, you can find your favorite White Lion beers right in your local liquor store cooler. White Lion Brewing, now in Amherst and in downtown Springfield, a proud local sponsor of the SRG podcast. Make sure you tell Ray Barry and everybody over there that the fellows at SRG sent you. Brought to you by our friends at YOLO Healthcare Consulting. They offer training, education, tutoring, coaching, and mentoring for healthcare professionals and students. Founding owners Yolanda Mero and Lola Rios are doctorate-prepared nurses with over 40 years combined bedside, academic, and leadership nursing experience. They also offer assistance to individuals navigating the healthcare system for long-term care and home care planning needs. Founded right here in Western Mass, YOLO Healthcare Consulting are the ones to contact to help you bridge the gap. If you're traversing the healthcare landscape, reach out to them at yolo.healthcareconsulting@gmail.com or give them a call at 413-627-0609 and tell them that the guys at SRG sent you. And one more by our friends at Landscaping That Fits. It is time to unlock the secret to a lush, weed-free lawn with Landscaping That Fits' exclusive weed and feed lawn service program. Serving the East Longmeadow, Agawam, Springfield, and Wilbraham area, our program is designed to elevate your outdoor space to new heights of beauty and health. Experience the difference as their team expertly nourishes your lawn with premium nutrients, promoting robust growth while eliminating unsightly weeds. Say goodbye to tedious weed pulling and hello to a vibrant, envy-inducing lawn. You can let Landscaping That Fits handle the hard work while you relax and enjoy the stunning results. Call 413-847-0338 to secure your spot in the exclusive weed and feed lawn service program, or visit them at landscapingthatfits.com. They have a bunch of other services over there as well: weekly mowing, spring cleanups, mosquito and tick control, fall cleanup, aeration. So make sure you give them a call. Landscaping That Fits. Your lawn deserves nothing less. And again, that's Fitz, F-I-T-Z. And look them up on social media. They're on Facebook as well. I might take them up on that one because I honestly suck at fertilizing. I don't know when to do it. I don't know what kind to use. I don't know if I'm even going in the path I'm supposed to be in, or if I'm too close, too far. I hate the fertilizing. So I might just call them and call the experts at Landscaping That Fits, have them do it because I want the pros on it. So big thank you to all of our sponsors. We really appreciate it. Big thank you to Gene for coming on. And thanks to our friends at Patty's for hooking us up with the fan feature segment. And, this is good. And like I said, next week's episode will be a lot of fun as we join with the Blues Fan Forum podcast. So we'll be talking some Blues and some Thunderbirds. And again, we'll either be super depressed or kind of excited as to what the rest of the season is going to bring.
We'll be excited. I'm confident. It's a big weekend ahead. The boys will be ready for it, and they're winnable games. The points are there, boys. Thank you as always, listeners, fans. Keep it coming on social media. Let us know what you want to talk, what you want us to talk to the Blues about, and we'll make sure to try to get your questions out there. Let's go, T-Bird.